favorites. All right, we got some ticket texts. My favorite part of the game was when Hockenson dropped that third down from the sidelines. That's why we got rid of him. How about the Lions holding Cook to less than 40 yards in 2 games? I am a believer. That's Chris.
Yeah.
My favorite moment of the game was Sewell's celebration after his catch. The mic drop of the football was awesome. Just a little bit worried about a letdown against the Jets. Jerry from Dexter. Look, I don't think this team's going to have a letdown. If they lose, it's not going to be because they're not ready and not pumped. They know what's at stake. With the emergence of Isaiah Buggs and James Houston, is it making it less likely the Lions take a defensive lineman with the Rams pick? Depends where that pick is. You take the best available player at a position that you still have need. I mean, if Jalen Carter's there, you're not going to not pick him because of Isaiah Buggs or James Houston, right?
Right.
I mean,
No.
Look, they need linebackers, obviously, too, and they need help in the secondary, so they're going to get a good defensive player. I wouldn't, I know people say, well, maybe there's so many good wide receivers. I wouldn't think the wide receiver with the first pick.
No.
Will Aaron Rodgers beat the Lions last game to keep them out of the playoffs? Just thinking, this is how things go for us. Well, if the Packers are in it, I can see that scenario. If the Packers are out of it, I don't think he's going to play, personally, but I have no idea. I'm very excited for the Lions' future. However, in capitals, how much of this success is because of Ben Johnson? And if he is responsible, will we regress if he leaves? Mike and a cop.
There is that possibility, certainly. And then it comes down to Dan Campbell, and we've seen him fire coaches and make good decisions in season. Can he replace coaches? Because when you win, there's going to be coordinators that are going to get called for head coaching jobs. That's the business and the way it goes. And the good coaches find the next one that fits his players.
I could be wrong, but I think we're at least a year away from that.
I agree. I'm not saying we lose them now, but this question is when or if that happens, and if they continue to play well. Ben Johnson is going to be talked about as one of the bright offensive young minds, and that's what everybody wants right now.
I have a super strong belief about this, that, okay, I'm not taking away from Ben Johnson. He is calling the plays. I still believe Dan Campbell's fingerprints are all over this offense.
Oh, yeah.
And that Ben Johnson has inherited Dan Campbell's playbook and taken it, getting the most out of it. But I still think, I'm not concerned about it. Look, he will have to find somebody that would do the same thing.
Yeah.
But to me, again, I see so many Sean Payton Saints elements in their play calling. That when they put St. Brown in the backfield yesterday, the Saints did that all the time. Now, I'm not saying all the time, but in key situations, they would throw wrinkles in like that with their receivers and stuff. And they would use Ted Ginn in odd ways and stuff.
And that's what the end of last year should give you some confidence when Dan Campbell took over the play calling and they improved. Like, do we want him calling plays on a regular basis? I mean, we could debate. That's an off-season debate. But it gave you some confidence that this is actually his offense that they're executing. Ben Johnson's the vessel of which it's traveling through. But I do believe that whoever inherits that job is going to, like you said, inherit Dan Campbell's playbook.
My reason I don't like head coaches calling plays is what happened at the end of the first half yesterday. Dan Campbell was very thorough on the Thielen catch that right before the fumble, which was a huge play, on figuring out and with the referees about using the timeout versus the clock runoff and all that stuff. And I feel like sometimes when a head coach is calling offensive plays, they're also thinking about what plays am I going to be calling. So you got your head coach in the moment while you got your offensive coordinator thinking, if we get the ball back in this amount of time, what plays can we use? I'd rather have the two brains than one.
Yeah.
Why did the Vikings go for 2 when it was 21-13? Is there a reason I'm missing? What do you guys think? Let's talk about that off the air.
Yeah.
Okay, if they go for 2, it makes it 21.
Right, it gets it back to a touchdown and an extra point to tie it up.
Right, if they go for 1.
Right.
They make the 2 and then touchdown takes the lead. That's what.
Yes, it actually is one of the analytical things that I believe in. And you don't do it, it sucks. But the whole belief is that you have to score 2 touchdowns, and you're going to get at least 1 out of 2 2-point conversions, and you'll be tied. If you kick extra points, you're just tied no matter what. It's especially on the road, it's kind of called trying to steal a game.
I'm saying good morning to Mark in Detroit. What's up, Mark? Mark. All right, it's more for me. It's on Campbell because when you're 1-5, 1-6, I'm sitting there saying if they don't win more than 3-4 games, they have to bail on this after 2 years. They have to. So I've completely done a 180. There's no, and obviously that's completely out of the question.
Yeah. Oh, there's no question. Yeah, that's out of the question. He'll be back, and they've done all of the things that kind of the minimum requirements we set out at the beginning of the year was you've got to finish ahead of the Bears. Well, clearly they're going to do that.
Right.
You've got to be able to finish with more wins than you had last year. You've got to win on the road. There's got to be some landmark things that have to happen, and those have all happened. So we believe here as a show that he'll be back, and I think most people, if you want him fired right now, then you just got it out for Dan Campbell.
Correct. Now as far as Sheila goes, I always had a hunch she was going to be a little different than her parents, because as a child she was suffering as a fan, like a lot of us. And the key to being a good owner, in my opinion, is: are you willing to spend money? They are, and it's not that hard with a salary cap.
Yeah.
You take care of your players, the facilities, all that stuff. They do that. And the key component is: do you hire the right people to run the football? And that's always been the biggest problem with the Fords. It's not that they were cheap, but maybe before the cap. It's just they always hired the wrong people. They hired, it appears, with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, of the right people. And a good owner, in my opinion, stays out of the way. And it appears, and we don't know what goes on behind closed doors, she stays out of the way, lets her football people take care of football. So she was never a worry of mine. The question was whether she'd be able to hire the right person, and it appears that.
Yeah, I've always felt like Dan was going to, and some of it was just I really hoped he was going to get this turned around, but I believe that he was. I didn't have that big of a concern about Sheila. And my concern was more about Goff, and I thought that, and I don't necessarily know that I've really changed my thought on this, but most people believe that Goff is here for a short period of time. Has he done enough this year to make me think, okay, not is it just for 23, but is it past that? Because I always thought if they go out and they draft a quarterback, then you have Goff here for one more year while you groom this quarterback, and then in 24 you hand the reins over, which that would make it not necessary to have Jared Goff anymore. I'm still not sold on I'm good with him being here at 24. So we're good with him.
We're good with him being here for next year, right?
Yeah,
completely.
Yeah, and I've kind of always been that way. So I don't know that if you're asking me about have I done a 180, I was never, a guy that said, hey, I don't even want him here right now to now I do. So I guess I really haven't changed my mind yet on, okay, I want him here for 23, and I think he can win games for us. I think he can get us to the playoffs. But I'm still not sold on he's the guy that can get us to the Super Bowl and win it.
I still would draft a quarterback, maybe not in the first round, but I would draft somebody maybe this year, third round. Somebody that, whether if he's any good, you can groom him, or if not, he's just somebody that can turn into somebody better than Nate Sudfeld.
Looking for a Brock Purdy?
That would be nice. That'd be
take him to the last pick.
That's right.
I think Stoney's right about drafting a quarterback with 5 in the top 75 or closely. I know it changed a little bit this weekend, but I think you can use one of those picks. If there's a guy you like, it has to be a guy that they like and they think can
you don't
do
just
that.
take a quarterback.
I think
quarterback.
Okay, so Goff, nobody thought he was going to last after this year.
Well, I did.
No, not at the beginning. At the time of the trade.
I thought he'd be here through 23.
No, I thought you were on board with the cut because the cap hit after 2 years. We kind of thought that would probably be the outcome. That he was a guy that you had to take in the trade to make the trade happen.
Right.
And that most likely he'd be cut after this season because the cap hit was small. He certainly has taken that away. He's actually put on the table of extending him, which nobody ever dreamed that would at least be a conversation. Now, you're not going to pay him elite money,
no.
And that's a conversation for way down the road as he continues to earn it. But he's put it on the table. Okay. My big shift is Sheila. Okay? She came out and she gave the vote of confidence. And it was a time of desperation
Right,
for this
right.
team where people were panicking, and I told you guys,
Right, without saying a vote of confidence, she was telling people just to be a little patient.
she said what somebody told me was that they were not going to make a coaching move no matter what. And at 1-6, I felt it was on the table. And the plan, and think about the decision-making process that she's done. This is still got Chris Spielman's blueprint all over it. I don't think Rob is involved. I know there's some people out there that think he's got his hands in stuff.
In the locker room after the games.
I think a plan was constructed by Chris Spielman that she is following through. Brad Holmes has been absolutely awesome.
Right.
Very few critical things. And I think with Campbell, I think down the road, it seems like they're putting this thing together, right? It's going to be Dan Campbell's decision-making in critical games, playoff games, that will either make him a hero or he won't be the guy. And it's the same thing with Jared Goff. Jared Goff's going to have to, in a divisional round playoff game, which we would all dream of, it's going to have to go down, or a wild card round, just like Matthew Stafford got the ball in Dallas. I know we got screwed on the call, but Matthew Stafford possessed the ball with 2 minutes to go in the game, and he did not do for us what he did last year in the playoffs for the Rams.
248-539-9797. Stoney Jansen, 97 won the ticket.
Hey, when you're struggling with joint pain, it's hard to remember what life was like before every step, every golf swing, every car ride was filled with discomfort. Fortunately, Dr. Fleischman at Strength Orthopedics offers cutting-edge treatment that is minimally invasive and financially accessible. And talking